Hello, first of all, I want to tell you that I apologize for my dog because she will most likely be somehow connected to this video via her very loud noise. But if I put her out of the room, she's just going to keep knocking with her paw to come back in. She's sitting on her blanket right now. I think she'll be okay. The 1963 script is being replayed in the public right now. If you go back and look, you can go ahead and research this yourself. February 19th, approximately February 19th, 1963, we had the Asian flu. It was considered a pandemic, supposedly. Around May of 1963 again, we had the Birmingham, Alabama riots. That was supposed to be pitting the African Americans against the Caucasian Americans. By the summer, they had the Cambridge riots on the campus of Cambridge University. That again was supposed to divide and conquer the people via riots and escalation of hostility or violence. And here goes my sirens every time. They have to say hi to you, so they're saying hello to you. They're ramping up their fake power and getting in every video that I make. Not a coincidence. Now, I don't hear a siren ever until I turn on the camera, and that's when they come rolling through. So these same people have been pumped up in police positions and fire department positions over and over and over again. They don't have any power anymore, but they have been put in those positions, so all they can do is ring their siren when I turn my camera on now. There's also a whole bunch of good people in the military, in the fire department, and in the cop shop, as I call it, the cop shop. Now, when you go back to 1963 again, look at the current situation and how it correlates with that time, because this is the same script. Before I mention this, they probably would have used the campuses or a campus or the students as an excuse to riot during the summer. They may have scrapped it, because once you predetermine what they're going to do using their own past events, then they sometimes will scrap it. But if you see that going on this summer, more rioting, it is again a replay of 1963. By November, we had an election for JFK. He got reelected, and by November 22nd, he was supposedly killed. We do not know if he was actually killed. I don't have 100% ID on him. I've ID'd many of the other people that played in that White House scenario at that time, including Jackie Kennedy, who today plays Nancy Pelosi, Kathleen Kennedy, who later played Barbara Bush and today plays Barbara Grassley. That's a man, not a female. Ethel Kennedy, who also played Lee Ratzel, the fake sister of Jackie Kennedy. That's another man, not a woman. Jackie Kennedy may very well be another man. We don't know yet. Also, Teddy Kennedy, who also played Joe Kennedy Sr. in that PSYOP on humanity. He later played Newt Gingrich. He's played Steve Bannon and Neil Keenan. He's a local here. He goes by Tom in Florida on Indian Rocks Beach. He loves to hang out at Kooky Coconut on the beach. Now, other people I've ID'd. I've ID'd quite a few. JFK, it looked like JFK was at his own funeral standing next to Jackie Kennedy. And he was also saluting the casket at the same time that the young JFK Jr. was saluting the casket. So that little boy would have been watching what his dad did, and he was repeating what his dad did. I posted pictures of that. I think those pictures were on Life magazine or one of the magazines of that time. But if you pull up, pretty sure if you pull up the JFK funeral, you're going to find those pictures. Jackie Kennedy's in the pictures with a bayonet beside her. The children are here in front of her. JFK is just right past her without his 40-ish, 50-ish year old makeup on. He was just about 20 years old when he played that gig. My dad may have played that gig. I don't know for sure. I don't have a 100% match yet. He did later on marry her though. So my dad later married Jackie Kennedy. That was of course before my birth. And then he played with her also on the Dallas sitcom, JR and Linda Gray. She played Linda Gray, he played JR. JR stands for James Robert. That's his name off camera. And in that gig he went by Larry Hagman, as you know. That's why I look like Larry Hagman. That's why I have this ugly nose. That's my dad. Now, she wasn't my mother, by the way. That person, I was trafficked into her home when I was born. And my mother is Barbara Eden. So I have the combination of my father and my mother in my bodysuit. And they were also in their 20s or so when they played on I Dream of Jeannie. I'm 52. So I changed a bit. Now, what else was I going to tell you about the ramping up of events? My prediction is they definitely planned on doing some rioting during the summer at the colleges, saying that the kids are mad because they don't get to go back to school. That was seeded in the news. You always see them seeding the public. When you saw that Trump didn't have a mask on, and that was another seeding, when he wasn't wearing a mask, they were seeding the public. They seed this information in beforehand. Oh, he didn't have a mask. Now we're going to have to kill him off. They're going to tell the public most likely that he was not wearing a mask, and he also contracted coronavirus because he didn't wear a mask, and that's why he's dead. And then there will be books and billion-dollar deals about movies and all of that on how he died and the conspiracy behind it, when actually there really wasn't a death at all. This was all pre-planned and written by them. It's to fear the public, make them be scared of a boogeyman germ. And you've been alive and have lived on this planet for how long, and you've never been so scared of a boogeyman germ in your life, have you? Because that's what they've been doing, is brainwashing you via the boob tube. All you do is just build up the immunity in your body. You can use Wellness Formula by Source Naturals. It's a very good product. We've been using that instead of antibiotics for over 20 years. My youngest son's never used antibiotics. He's never had a vaccine. Never needed it. They wanted to own your blood. Once they own your blood, then they have a customer for life. And that is all to mass genocide the public. They control you via the health. They control you via your jobs. They control you via school. It's all control. Why are these people so insanely controlling of you? God doesn't try to control you like that. Unconditional love doesn't try to control you. Our mission is to free the earth population of human slavery, to make sure that the humans live free here. We don't stop, and we don't die, and we don't quit, and we don't sit down. We bring truth. You can come talk to us any day you want. You can call us on the phone. You can knock on the door. We are completely accessible because we are real people. You can trace me back. I made my life an open book. I was not like that before. I appreciated my privacy. That was not an option that I had. And when I found out the magnitude of this, I opened up the information about me so you can completely trace me anytime you want. Birth name, Kimberly Renee Perkins. Later on, I became Kimberly Renee Nolan via marriage. So that is born 10/8 of 1967. I have nothing to hide from you. You can check everything about me my entire life. I don't care. Just, it is what it is. So when you have no fear, there is no one that can take any control over you. So I lost my fear a whole 5 years ago. Black Ops helicopter was trying to scare me on the beach, coming down at me and like it was going to hit me. And we played chicken and I won. That was the day for sure I knew that the fear that I may have held in me was gone. So what else was I going to tell you? The ramping up of events, this was all the same script. They may be trying to scrap it now and trying very desperately to come up with something else. But that was their original script. It worked in '63. They were hoping that it would work now. It's very tough when you can predetermine the future. And I'm not doing anything special. All I'm doing is looking at past events and telling you what they plan on doing. If you don't see it now, it's because they had to script, or they had to scrap it. They had to scrap the script. Now, Nikola Tesla, go back and look at Nikola Tesla. He has the last photo op that they did of him, if it wasn't the last one, it was near the last time he was photographed. And he had been in the Nazi war camps. They had starved him after stealing all of his work. And he looks like a skeleton, a walking skeleton. And it's because they put him in the war camps and they starved him and they beat him and tortured him. His son shows up with a Pompeo Bloodline member, and the way that I was able to find that is because his son plays Salvador Dali and painted about the abuse that was happening to him. He painted a picture of his father, and his father is the same person that played Thomas Edison. I don't have a 100% match on it, but the person that he painted as his father looks like Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, again, is the Pompeo Bloodline member, the same bloodline as Mike Pompeo today. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's fake manager, is a Pompeo Bloodline member and the father of Mike Pompeo, or Adam Sandler. He's played both. Now, Salvador Dali also put a picture out, and it's with George Washington blindfolded, carrying a ball and chain with him, with the scales of justice hanging up there. On that was a picture of what looked like Nikola Tesla or Salvador Dali as an older man. On top of his back was a House of Saudi Arabia person beating him, driving him, beating him. The House of Saudi Arabia, again, are the bloodline media owners. Chuck Grassley from Iowa, the Iowa senator. Also John Rockefeller III, who played Gilbert Schmidl at Palmer College, and is the father of Johnny Knoxville, aka H.A. Davidson. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Kennedy graduate possibly of 1984. And then the person that has been in my household since 1980 as Dave Bowers, and also pictured with Trump when he's playing John Bartolone on Facebook. They're pictured together because Trump, or John Bartolone, that's just one of his other gigs off camera, off Hollywood camera, because on camera Trump has also played Robin Williams, Bono, Sean Penn, Joe Walsh, Elton John, David Cassidy, on and on and on and on and on. Lifelong actor. And he was groomed by Steve Jobs, who was playing his mother as John Bartolone. So in that household, Steve Jobs was playing a woman when he was being raised, and he groomed that person to be the lost soul that he is today. That's why you have Trump today. He was groomed and controlled by Steve Jobs from day one, as that dude was dressed up as a woman for at least 18 years. About that time, it was when I was 12 to 13 years old or so, That's when John Bartolone would have graduated high school, and that's when he was in our household as Dave Bowers. It could have also been done in the same town as where I lived. So he may have raised John Bartolone in the Cedar Rapids, Marion area. John Bartolone told me he was from Michigan. So Trump lies. Every word out of his mouth is a lie. So I'm giving you what I know via the pictures. And when I found Dave Bowers, aka Steve Jobs, as the fake mother of John Bartolone, I brought it to you with the photographic evidence that they let us have. On Facebook, that's public knowledge, public record. Those are the media owners. Steve Jobs, aka Steve Breyer, our fake Supreme Court judge. He's also played Buddy Holly, Rich Tard Rockefeller, and John Lennon. You might have heard of him. The reason they got so glorified is because they're the media owners. Now, they're the bloodline of Abe Lincoln. They're the script writers and the executors of all this death and mayhem. They're the House of Saudi Arabia via the House of Saud bloodline. Abe Lincoln, who later played Will Booth because John Wilkes Booth killed him. These people are so dumb. They're so easy to catch. I'm giving you what I have. They are cycling down quickly. Don't react to their bullshit. I'm not gonna call you out if you're in my vicinity and you're trolling me. I don't work like that, you know that. I don't have to hide anything from you or anybody. So what I do is I just take notes on you. I know who you are. Just like with Minnie Mouse, aka Bill, who was trolling me for the last couple years or so. I knew who he was. I knew he was pasty. I know pasty. Pasty is a pasty aura means that they're pedophiles. I watched and finally found him right there in Indian Rocks Beach. Is Robert Clark's father. No, Robert Clark's mother. Not father, mother. Dude was dressed up as a chick and dressed up as Minnie Mouse, holding on to a kid that didn't want anything to do with him because he's a pedophile. He's hurt that child. The person playing Robert Clark's father is Willie Nelson, aka Red West, the person that backstabbed Elvis for his Willie Nelson gig. He's also played an Allman Brother, and he's had TV characters too. Off camera, he goes by Dale Lockhart and Terry Ossie in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Here locally, he's been going by Sparky Clark on the beach in Indian Rocks Beach, and he goes by another character up on 83rd Avenue and 121st Street in Seminole. He has a big RV in front of his house. He's playing Robert Clark's dad. That's what Trump's playing on the beach right now. He's playing with Shelley Heatrick, George Washington bloodline. That's a male. That's why he's calling himself Shelley Heatrick Clark. There was many gigs that Shelley's played, and he went by Todd Turner in Iowa. We grew up together from 7th grade on. That was all scripted. He was supposed to hate my guts. He tried killing me. He tried killing Todd Griffin in 1985. And then he bought a house across the street from where he took a hold of Todd's wheel of his car and made him crash. And he liked to gloat about it, so he bought a house across the street from that area. And that's only a block away from Dave Bowers in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Now, Shelley's also going by Alanis Morissette, Shakira, Sheryl Crow, Bruce Springsteen, Rob Zombie, all the side gigs, all the bad drama in Hollywood, White House right now is being played by him. And also played the doctor that delivered my first baby, Dr. Alberts. He's a weirdo. He's really, really batshit crazy. And this is Robert De Niro's biological son. groomed, tortured into hate from day one, hates women, hates the woman population. And that's why he is playing the he trick with Robert Clark. There goes another one. This one came from, just now I saw it out the window. That one, that siren, it came from this little cul-de-sac behind here. So there's only a number of houses that it could have gone to. So anyway, I had to mention that to you. When he trick was raised, I never met Todd Turner, is what he went by in Iowa. He may have been castrated, I don't know. I believe that his cohort, Doug Schulte, in Iowa was castrated. Possibly not, but there's a good likelihood that he was castrated, and Doug Schulte later became Elizabeth Shue, played Elizabeth Shue, and also played Gina Lee Nolan and Jessica Simpson. Off camera went by Hope Wyant here in Indian Rocks Beach, owns Zen Massage on the beach, and also went by a person that has a YouTube channel called Psyche Truth, doing yoga. He had a really bad wig on about 5 or 6 years ago and was building that brand. He's being banked by Mike Pompeo Bloodline, and was even in Austin during that gig on Psyche Truth, because that's where Joel Odekirk, aka Mike Pompeo, lives. He also played, Shelley Heatrick's big sister. So they're pictured together, which definitely correlates because they grew up together within blocks of each other in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Since I knew both of them as kids, finding them later dressed as women, I'm sorry, but that's funny. It just makes them look really bad. They've done a lot of implants, breast implants on these males, and done a lot of cosmetic surgery to make them look more femme, and they give them growth hormones to, to femme them up. And they were brainwashed, tortured, and programmed into this from childhood to think that that was cool, I believe. So we're talking about very lost souls, and when you just look at the evidence and bring it to the people like I do, it really kills their game. Their whole fake world is crumbling around them. So that's Shelley Heatrick, Robert Clark, that's just Trump again in a different mask. They always lead back to Robert De Niro, who is Shelley Heatrick or Alanis Morissette's father, because he plays girls and boys. He plays, Rob Zombie. He plays, Shelley Heatrick again plays Rob Zombie. He's played Bruce Springsteen, all those men and women gigs. So he thought he was a pretty hot item. He is the George Washington bloodline, so they had more power in fake Hollywood, the fakeness of Hollywood. They thought that they had more power because they were the George Washington bloodline. It's because the George Washington bloodline was entrapped for so long and has been since Europe. They were playing George Washington in Europe when they were playing George Washington here when they played King George over there. So these people, this bloodline, and I have some of that bloodline in me via Grace Kelly. So I'm not saying they're all bad or lost. Let's just say lost. They're not all lost. But Todd Turner, unfortunately, is one of the lost ones. He was trying to kill people when we were just teenagers. I was one of his targets, and so was Todd Griffith in high school in 1985. So I'm sure there were more, but those are the two that I know about of his attempted murders. These people are cycling down. Trump is 100% in there with them, and if he's sold them out, which I believe he has sold them out, they have an MO in that family. The Bartolonis, the Joseph Mengele bloodline, which is what Trump is. He's the son of Joseph Mengele, his bloodline. Their MO is always to sell out to the biggest power in the room. So they're going to sell out to humanity because they know right now humanity is the biggest power in the room, and we're backed by God, Creator. They have nowhere to go. So they're waiting for their hands to be up in the air saying, I got all the evidence you need, you know, please don't put me in prison. And if they haven't already given up the goods, that's what they plan on doing. They always do the same thing. I've watched them my whole life. Jackie Kennedy is his sibling via his dad. Hillary Clinton, who plays Madonna, is also his sibling. Wolf Blitzer, who goes by Paul McCartney, also goes by Bob and lives next door to 11235 109th Lane in Largo. He lives one building, I think it's west. Maybe, nope, it's south. One building south of that address. He has other houses too, but that's one of his houses. It goes by Bob. They all have an MO. You know, they play the good cop, so the House Assad always hides behind them and uses them as tools. And they usually do the job for them because they're sold on fake fame, fake power, and blood-soaked coins. We are serving them their law of cause and effect on a platter. And law of cause and effect means that what you put out there, you get back. So if you're going to put out trolling, spying, mauling, backstabbing, killing, human trafficking, human enslavement, you name it. If you're going to put that out, that's what's going to come back on you 100%. You can't avoid it. We didn't do it to you. You've done it to yourself. You are rebounding upon yourself. And if you've put out good, you'll get great back. It's that simple. Law of cause and effect is like the law of gravity. When you jump off a building, you fall. It's a universal law. You know this. It doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna fall. If you put out crimes upon the people, you're just cycling back on yourself. Now you can blame me all you want, but I didn't do this to you. You did it to yourself. I'm bringing it public every day. I have the right to tell my personal investigations, and the only reason I personally investigated you people in particular is because you're in my vicinity, most of you. And if you weren't, you were doing dirty deeds upon the people, which gave me another reason to investigate you. So if I saw you playing a supposed Ayatollah Khomeini, it's up to me to go investigate. It's my free choice to go investigate you using forensic evidence. Now, what I have found out since then is that some of these people were, like George Floyd, may or may not have had his video taken thinking that he was making a movie. We don't know yet. We'll find that in the future. So let's say you see George Floyd and it looks like he's being held down by Shelley Heatrick, because that's who that is, holding him down. That's why Shelley Heatrick, aka the cop with the George Floyd death, that's why he has woman arms, because he's playing a woman off camera right now. When you see that, there's a possibility that Danny Glover, and that's who he plays in the movies, is Danny Glover is one of his characters. He may have thought that he was just filming a movie. So we don't know yet. We'll find out in time if these actors had their video and photo shots of them taken and used by the media owners for psyops on humanity. Once the actors videotape or get pictures taken, they don't own that material anymore. They are considered a brand by Hollywood, and they have no control over what happens with their footage. The child that was George Floyd's supposed daughter is a little girl who's been held captive in foster care, being sexually molested and terrorized by putting her on airplanes and making her think that the airplane was going to go down with everybody else on board. That is to cause PTSD, to control these people, program them to molest them. They're easier prey when they're in PTSD. She also said that they were in Mexico and that there were a bunch of bunk beds against the wall. They may or may not have been in Mexico. There was another person, and that's the person pictured with her. They said on the news, on the fake news, they said that that was the mother of that little girl. That's the foster mother. It may be the grandmother of that child, or it may be a great aunt. That person off camera may have played a part in being a perp, but we don't know yet upon that child. We don't know yet. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I don't want to think that this person could have done bad things to this little girl. If that person has done bad things to her, that person will get their love, cause, and effect, and they can't avoid it. Do you hear me? You can't avoid it. If you hurt those children, I hope God has more mercy on you than I would on you. Ben Affleck being in control of another foster child that was in the same home, that's Mark or Matt Damon's young son. And when you see Ben Affleck's son, that's not his son. That is Matt Damon, aka Mark's son. That's his biological son. And why does Ben Affleck have control of that child? Why is he grooming that child? Why does he have control of that child? That's human trafficking. I do not believe that Mark, aka Matt Damon, had any clue that that was his child until I brought it up to him, if he was even able to hear my information today. Mark may be a lost soul, I don't know. But as Mark was playing Jason Bourne on camera, I was playing it off camera. So I bring you this information. As he was playing that character, I was avoiding death attempts left and right. So I bring you this information today, and I hope that all of this helps you not get triggered by these pieces of shit, and know that they're cycloning down. They're going down, and there's nothing that they can do about it. They are dust in the wind.